Okay, we're back with Dragon Champions, and I just want to do a video on runes. Just because I do notice a lot of questions about runes, or maybe no questions at all, and then wondering why maybe you're having trouble with certain content of the game. So I'm going to do a brief overview what runes are, maybe where you can get them, and then maybe some of the optimal setups for depending on what you want to do in the game. So if you navigate to the Heroes tab, if you go within the hero, you're going to notice something on the bottom right here with runes and managing runes. And just backing out of the screen here, you may know this, you may not, but under the filter tab, this is your main filter tab, there's a rune tab now where you can see all of your summary of what your characters are runed with. Really useful if you're looking for specific things or you're just trying to see what setup you have. So if you go, let's just say within one of my characters, Rantha here, you have a variety of rune slots. So what's important to understand within the slots themselves is most people will refer to these in directions. So this would be the north, this would be northeast, southeast, south, southwest, northwest. So why is this important? Because within each rune slot, there's only a specific type of attribute you can get in the rune. So I'm going to show you what I mean here. If you look at the left-hand side here, you have every single rune as you click within each rune slot that corresponds to that slot. So I can see everything here. If you want to filter by specific rune, you can do that, and I'll show you that in a second. But what I want to point out here is that if you look at the stats, let's just say here, I've had Northern Speed rune, Northern Health rune. The primary stat is, in this case, damage. All the stats below the dotted line are generally randomized depending on the rarity of the rune, which you can denote by the number of dots and also the color. If you look at the filter, that gives you an idea. Legendary runes are orange, the next level up are epic, which are purple, followed by rare, which is blue, green is uncommon, and common is gray. And within each of those rarities are stars. So obviously the 5-star legendary runes are going to be your best runes. But each rune has a primary stat. In this case, if you cycle through all the types of runes I have in this northerly slot, they all only have damage as the primary stat, and that's by design. So you're not going to find a speed boost that fits this top slot. So if you're searching to, let's just say, level up your character's speed, you're not going to find it in that slot, so don't start fishing for that. If you go to the northeast, this is where you're going to find a variety of different rune primary stats. And to demonstrate what you can find within each, I will show you the new runic campaign where you can farm for some runes. Nothing within the rare, but a lot of your green 2-star runes. So this northeast slot is where you're going to see most people load up on speed. You see here my Rantha is plus 23. The reason why is it's one of the only areas where you can get a primary speed boost and not be dependent on things like this. If you see in this southeast rune, I have a speed plus 3 as a secondary stat, but this is speed plus 23, which is massive. So you get the picture. My point here on this screen is that if you are looking to improve your characters to the next level, you have to pay attention to their stats. These are the stats you see on the left-hand side here, and you can bring up a more detailed description as to what every stat means in the game. For those theory crafters out there, I am not one of those, but there are optimal setups depending on what you're looking for. For example, if you look at the secondary stat here, potency, which affects the chance to apply combat effects, some theory crafters out there have a magic number there, which you want to strive for to pretty much guarantee your chance at things like stuns or bleeds. So going back to the characters themselves and the runes. So if you go back to the manage rune, you'll notice that depending on your set bonuses within the runes, you have these rune words here. It says to form a rune word, you'll need 2 or 4 runes from the same set. So if you have, going down from the top, 2 armor type runes, you can have 20% armor. That means because you have 6 rune slots, you could have 3 complete sets, which is going to give you certain percentage bonus to armor, in this case 20% per set. That's pretty huge if you're looking at more survivability in your characters, more specifically tanks. If you want a 15% increase in your damage, then you're going to need 4 of the damage rune. Similarly, 4 for crit damage, and 2 each for crit chance, tenacity, potential, 4 for speed. That's kind of a game balancing, so that, for example, if you had 10% speed and you only needed 2 runes from the same set, you could load up on speed and kind of break the game. So this is important when describing what I'm going to go through next. And again, I'm going very quickly because I imagine most of you have an understanding of this, but just giving you my experience with the game so far. So if you look at the types of characters you have, they're broken up within things like defenders, fighters, mages, warriors, rangers, whatnot. But really, for classic breakdown, you're looking at tank, which is a defender, DPS, or damage per second, which is just your people that attack, whether it's with magic damage or with physical damage. And you have your healers, or your mages and support. So that's what I'll focus on when you're talking about runes. So let's start with an easy one here, at least in my mind. We're gonna go with Tromgar. Tromgar is a defender type. You can see I've runed him up with 6 armor runes, but it's not as simple as that. So I'm getting this nice little armor set bonus. You want to look a little deeper into the primary stats that I've attributed to the 3 that would change. In this case, it's the northeast, the south, and the northwest. Those are the ones with variable primary stats. Again, just as demonstration, this is my northwest rune where I have a tenacity primary stat. If you look, I can have damage there, health, another tenacity, potency, armor. You get the picture. There's only a certain set of stats I can get there. So why focus on tenacity? If you look at the description of tenacity, tenacity affects the chance to resist combat effects from enemies. If your tank is constantly getting bled or stunned, it's not going to do much for you for a tank because he's going to lose life more. The stun is important, or stun resist is important, specifically for Tromgar because of his skill. Because of his counter-attack, whenever he is, for 2 turns when he's taunted, combined with his crushing blow, which has a 35% chance to stun, he's not going to counterattack if he himself is stunned. So you want to resist that with tenacity. Other thing you want to look at with Tromgar and most tanks in general is they are slow. Tromgar speed is 139, which is decent because I've had to bump him up. But a slow tank may not be a bad thing for some tanks. like our Pride tank here, Salvador. I haven't built him up, but he is like the most health in the game and one of the highest physical armor defenses. You're okay with him being slow because you want your taunt to last longer. Your taunt goes down every time it takes a turn, but if your tank's taking 1 turn for everybody else's 3 turns, then they're forced to attack your tank. That's what you want in a tank, or in this case, a defender. So I focused a lot on speed in my Northeast rune just to get him fast enough, at least, to offer attack, because Tromgar does have a stun as part of his attack. If he's not taking turns, he can't stun. Lastly, I just kind of doubled down on armor percentage. You see some people, you can focus on shield in the South rune, but you know, for the most part, armor is what I'm trying to build up. I want him to resist and resist physical damage, if you will. So, rule of thumb, tanks are either going to be runed up with armor or with health. Why health? Because again, your health rune here, you get 10% health bonus for each set of 2. So if you're quote unquote squishy in terms of your health bar, you'll want to bump that up. Content wise, the other thing you're looking for is there's not a lot of tanks in Arena other than Tromgar that you see. Mainly because Arena is more about bursting down your opponent. You're not going to see a lot of healers in Arena either. Tromgar is there because of the stun. If you're facing your opponent, because your opponent isn't playing you in real time, the computer AI is just going to react, and it's always going to taunt the first turn it gets, and it makes you susceptible to those stuns. And if you have one of your DPS in your Arena stunned, it could be enough just to sway the fight. Let's talk about healers. In this case, Mortha may be a good example here. Let's just go over here and find my healers. Zentara as well. Patriarch Chi. You'll notice a trend here. They all have speed. Why do they have speed? Is because I want to take as many turns as possible so I can heal my team as much as possible. So I would recommend you load up on speed runes there. The other 2 really depends on what you're trying to do. I picked health rune for Mortha. That may have been in part due to the fact that I did have a speed primary stat on the health rune here, and she is relatively squishy, whereas for the Patriarch, he's got an interesting toolkit where he puts shields on everybody, so health is not as a priority, but defense for me, I don't want him to die, and his prevention is maybe more than just having hit points to go. Soleus I just unlocked in a video, shameless plug, that I posted the other day. I am loading up a tenacity because eventually I do want him in a leader role. I don't want him down enough where he gets stunned and he can't activate some of his really overpowered passives. Okay, so that's healers in a nutshell. If you look at some of your damage dealers, Corcoran again, I focused a lot on speed because I want to deal as much damage as many times as possible. This is an ongoing theme, so kind of your Coles Node summary or your TLDR is load up on speed runes, and wherever you don't have a speed rune in physical form, you want to load up on the speed stat, or double up. In this case, I have a speed rune and a speed primary stat in the Northeastern speed rune. The other one I did for Corcoran or any sort of mages that rely on debuffs is you want to put potency on. That's my opinion. You want to be able to put those debuffs on your opponents, so if your potency isn't high enough, you run the risk of it not transferring. His ability kit is reliant on having his opponents stunned and burned, or in this case both, so that you can have some other bonus with your abilities. So if you look at maybe some of your other physical damaged individuals that aren't reliant on putting debuffs, like Foul, or maybe somebody like Snorri, you may, or Rune, and actually Mar is another good example. They just want to do burst AoE. Burst AoE, area effect damage, you want to focus on 2 rune sets, in my opinion, again. That is crit damage and crit chance. If you're loading up again, you want to load up speed. So if they're going at more turns than normal, and they have a higher chance to crit, and you are giving a 30% bonus in crit damage. And in some cases, people like Mar, with his buff, he increases his crit damage even more. He is then bursting down a lot of one-shot kills. The rune set that I choose as well, maybe a comment on this. You want to pick something that will help you depending on what you're trying to do in the game. When I mentioned content, a lot of it is raid content. Raid content is about facing 3, 1 main boss with 2 supports. So survivability is huge. Crit is also huge. So you may want to focus on different runes in your tanks than if you were to take it into campaign or into arena. For me, I'm a little bit lazier, so I'm just trying to fit something that's going to benefit me all around, including in tower. So lastly, I know this is a kind of a long video, but where do you find some runes? Campaign mode, they did add the runic journey, where you can, once you clear these, you can auto battle and find the rune of your choice. Here's a good summary of what you can find per node. So in the northern mode, you can only have a base stat of damage percentage. In your northeastern, you can have speed, accuracy, damage percentage, shield percentage, health percentage, and armor percentage. In your southeast, you're only getting armor percentage. Your south, you have a variety of things: crit, damage, crit chance, shield, damage, health, and armor percentage. In your southwest, you only have shield or health. And in your northwest, you have shield, damage, potency, armor, health, tenacity. So if you notice, potency and tenacity and speed, things like that, are only found in specific rune slots. The other area you can get runes is in the shop. There's a rune tab now, which is relatively new, where for boatloads of coins you can get some pretty powerful runes. I don't really recommend this for free to play or people just starting out. I think this is more endgame content when you've got your teams pretty much geared up and you're looking to find that very specific rune. For example, I don't know why this one might be good because you have 4 stars. Uncommon on with a speed primary, that's going to boost it a little bit more than your normal 3-star or 2-star rune. Other than that, where you're going to get runes are in rewards for things like events, sometimes in tournament. Let me take that back, maybe not in tournaments, but in some events you're going to have like this tournament, which is specifically epic crit runes. So they reward were some obviously very descriptive epic crit chance runes, and you were going to get 4 if you were ranking 1 to 3. So really, I know that was a really quick overview. Summary is, if you want to get a little bit better at this game and not struggle in some content, make sure you're not just arbitrarily putting runes on with any old primary stat. You do have to focus a lot on your speed, and you do have to focus on your character type. potency for people that are doing debuffs, tenacity to resist debuffs, and just crit damage on your general DPS that just wants to burn the opponent down. So if you found this video helpful, please give me a like and a subscribe, and I will be back with another video tomorrow. Thanks.